Moving on to the final topic. Oh, there we go. Finally, it's fine. Moving on to the final encoding preset. My computer's hurting and yelling at me, but we're going to move on to the final topic of this podcast. The defense of the Chauvin trial has come up, and the medical expert says Floyd not murdered. I mean, you could take it with a grain of salt if you want. I still think holding the dude down on the ground like that without checking on him after he's like screaming, "I can't breathe," is negligence. But that's me. But let's get into this. That's CNN, so take it for a grain of salt, right? No, we don't need that there. Former medical examiner says Floyd died due to his heart disease, not Derek Chauvin. I don't know if you believe that or not, but Maryland's former chief medical examiner testified for Derek Chauvin's defense on Wednesday that George Floyd died due to his underlying heart disease, not the police restraint. Here's his actual statement. In my opinion, Floyd had a sudden cardiac arrhythmia due to his atherosclerosis and hypertensive heart disease during his restraint and subdual by the police. Yeah, that means it was exacerbated by it. It played a contributing factor, if that was the case, said Dr. David Fowler, a forensic pathologist who retired as Maryland's chief examiner at the end of 2019. Floyd had narrowed coronary arteries known as the arteriosclerosis and an enlarged heart due to his high blood pressure or hypertension. Fowler said Floyd's fentanyl and methamphetamine use and a tumor known as a paraganglioma were other significant conditions that contributed. Yeah, it was all like a amalgamation. I don't think Chauvin murdered Floyd, but it was definitely negligent homicide. Dr. Flower also put forth a novel argument that carbon monoxide from the squad's exhaust may have contributed to his death. But in cross-examination, he conceded that he did not have any data or test results to support the theory that there was no finding of injury due to carbon monoxide. When asked how he knew the vehicle was even, you can see that the data results support the theory. Okay. Fowler said he noted water was dripping from the tailpipe, which indicated to him that it was running. Dr. Fowler theorized that the carbon monoxide from the squad car may have contributed to Floyd's death. Yeah. All right. Then the cops are kind of responsible. Isn't that right? You're responsible for your equipment and the health of your person in the field. Position asphyxia, as the term is used in court today, is an interesting hypothesis and unsupported by experimental data, he testified. In all, Dr. Fowler said Floyd's death should be classified as undetermined rather than homicide because there was so many competing clauses. Okay, so yeah, that negligence. Like it classified as undetermined because that was competing for causes. So yeah, negligence. Boom. The testimony cuts as the prosecution's argument, bolstered by 5 separate medical experts, that Floyd's primary cause of death was low oxygen due to Chauvin's restraints of a handcuffed Floyd in the prone position, known as the positional asphyxia. To get a guilty verdict, prosecutors have to prove that Chauvin's actions were a substantial causing factor in Floyd's death. So what I gotta put this out there, like, no, negligence, they don't have to do that because if he played a role, negligence. Police should not have less consequences for things than soldiers do in a combat zone. Dr. Flower's analysis took up the entirety of Wednesday's testimony. I mean, seriously, we should treat our own people with the same, if not greater respect than we treat our enemies. The fact that we treat our own people worse than we treat our enemies is absolute garbage. Dr. Fowler honestly took up the entirety of Wednesday's testimony. A day earlier, 6 witnesses testified for the defense, including the use of force experts, and Chauvin's actions were justified. Several other witness testimonies spoke of Floyd's drug use, particularly during a prior arrest in May 2019. Together, the witnesses furthered the defense's 3 main arguments in the case: that Floyd died due to the drug and health problems, that Chauvin's use of force was ugly but appropriate. He held it too long. 8.5 minutes is ridiculous. He should have assessed the dude's fucking health. Chauvin's use of force was ugly, and that hostile crowd of bystanders distracted Chauvin. I mean, I guess that could play a factor. The prosecution rested in case Tuesday morning after calling 38 witnesses over 11 days. He's going to get acquitted, and it's going to fucking go crazy to prove that Chauvin uses excessive unreasonable force when he nailed on Floyd's neck. and back 9 minutes, 29 seconds last May. Their case relied heavily upon multiple videos of Chauvin's actions analyzed by police experts and medical testimony as to how Floyd died. Chauvin, 45, was pleading not guilty to second-degree unintentional murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter charges. The defense's case is expected to negligent manslaughter, I think, is true. The defense's case is expected to last only a few days, and closing arguments are expected for Monday, Judge Peter Cahill said, but he's probably going to get acquitted. While the trial was focused in on Chauvin and Floyd, the broader societal stakes were made clear this week when a police officer shot and killed a black man in nearby Brooklyn Center, sparking 3 nights of protest. The officer resigned and was arrested and charged with second-degree manslaughter, authorities said. The Floyd family has offered their condolences and support the family of the 20-year-old Dante Wright. We're here and we will fight for justice for his family, just like we're fighting for our brother, Philonis Floyd said Tuesday. This is just fucking garbage. How did they think that would be a good idea? Jake DeFalo testified during the trial. Former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin on April 14th. In cross-examination, prosecuting attorney Jerry Blackwell sharply questioned Dr. Fuller, repeating cutting the doctor's attempts to longer answers. How are you going to even attempt to pull a gun on a fucking... This is just ridiculous. Yeah, just the cops are just making it worse here with this Dante Wright. Last week, Dr. Martin Tobin, a pulmonologist, testified for the prosecution that Chauvin's actions narrowed Floyd's hypopharynx. Last week, Dr. Martin Tobin, a pulmonologist, testified for the prosecution that Chauvin's actions narrowed Floyd's hypopharynx as a part of the throat that air passes through. Dr. Feiler said he watched the testimony and went to search for more information but found none. It's not something I have ever heard of, he said. He also conceded he is not a pulmonologist and did not try to calculate how much air was in Floyd's lungs between breaths, a key part of Tobin's. Yes, negligence. It's definitely negligence. Dr. Fowler was unable to identify the point at which Floyd suffered a sudden cardiac arrest, and he said he did not notice that Floyd's voice grew thicker and quieter at times went on. He also said he agreed that Floyd should have been given immediate medical attention. See, he agreed. Negligence, bro. The doctor's analysis contradicted much of what the prosecution expert said last week. Hennepin County Medical Examiner Andrew Baker, who conducted Floyd's autopsy, testified the police restraint was the primary cause of death, and he listed Floyd's heart disease and fentanyl use as other significant conditions. He described the paraganglioma as an incidental tumor that didn't have anything to do with his death. None of the doctors mentioned carbon dioxide as having any role. Dr. Jonathan Reach, a cardiologist who testified for the prosecution on Monday, said Floyd's heart showed no evidence of injury at all. I could state with a high degree of medical certainty that George Floyd did not die from a primary cardiac event and did not die from drug overdose, Rich said. I don't believe that these things didn't contribute. Separately, Dr. Fowler was named in a lawsuit by the family of a Maryland teenager who died during a 2008 police encounter, which a family attorney called eerily similar to Floyd. So this dude's under investigation for lying about this crap, but he's going to continue. We're gonna end reading this here because we've reached the end of our time here. But I don't know if you could trust this Dr. Fowler guy. There's a conflict of interest against him if he's being sued for lying about a similar thing, until we can determine that he's not lying about that similar thing. I mean, his testimony can't be fucking reasonably trusted. I'm just saying. But anyways, that's all we have for today. As always, I'm Doc Camo, and this has been my thoughts of the day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!